fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Welcome to summer. It's not official, of course, not until the summer solstice on June 21st. But around these parts, the summer season is pretty much official as of this weekend. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman Magazine. It's Thursday, May 25th, right before the Memorial Day weekend, and I'm here at Key Harbor Marina on Barnegat Bay to the brand new home of the second location of Creekside Outfitters. Right here, you can see the Yamaha sign. I'm on the gas dock. Liza's here stocking everything. So when you're here on Barnegat Bay, you're coming in to fuel up. You know that they've got their first location on Route 9 in Waretown. This is the second location on water. So if you're out here on Barnegat Bay anytime this summer into the fall, maybe you're drifting the BB, the BI buoy, you've run out of bait, you can come in here, gear up, gas up right here at Key Harbor. Always swing by and see the folks at Creekside Outfitters. But I'll tell you, this area, I'm sure, is going to be pretty busy, and these fuel docks are going to be busy as well this weekend, because it does look like we have a pretty darn good Jersey Shore weekend weather forecast. And the NOAA inshore weather forecast as well, the marine forecast out of Atlantic City, well, that's not too shabby either after Thursday night. That's what they're saying. So Friday through Monday, if you're enjoying some time down here, and if you're coming into town this weekend, I would suggest trying to get in early. Try to slip out the back door of the office on Friday before anybody notices you're gone, because conditions look beautiful on Friday afternoon. Now, if you're looking for the latest printed reports in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region, hot off the presses, make sure you pick up the June edition of the Fisherman Magazine. It's available at Creekside, both of their locations. We went to print with this particular edition Sunday night, and all of our field editors were checking in. North Jersey, Central Jersey, South Jersey, Freshwater, Surf Report, our Delaware Coastal Report, and of course Tom P. from Creekside has his offshore report again for the 2023 season. I will tell you that there are some bluefin in the mix now here near shore, offshore, mid-range grounds at the Jersey Shore. In fact, the Fish Sticks crew grabbed the big headlines earlier this week with this 82-incher, Captain Chris Black with Ian Bonham, Bill Young, and Jeff Paetzold. They brought this 300-pounder in to Brielle Yacht Club on Sunday, which is really good news, especially for the upcoming tournaments, the tuna tournaments coming up in the Manasquan, Barnegat, and Beach Haven area. I'll tell you about that a little bit more later in this week's forecast. But if you're looking to get into bluefin tuna fishing this season, I would highly recommend picking up that June edition of the Fisherman Magazine. Check out Captain Scott Newhall's article on page 14. That's inside the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition. It's called Shape, Size, and Color: Planning Your Tuna Tracker Selection. He goes through the entire Sterling Wide Tracker selection to figure out what it is you're going to need on the offshore grounds this season. You'll also learn more about night plugging this month into June at the Jersey Shore with Nick Konacheski. You've got super-sized flutter spoons. I see them in here, the flutter and drift spoons, the Maja drift spoons, the Nichols flutter spoons, the new Tsunami flutter spoons. That Jim Frieda article is in there. We've got chatterbaits for largemouth with Bruce Litton, and Outback Bay fluke with Frank Mahalik. Now, inside the glossy edition of this month's edition, we've got run and gun tuna, live bait catching and rigging for stripers. There's a corresponding little how-to video from Captain Greg DeMello. That's on the web edition of that article this week, thefisherman.com. Go over and check out Greg's how-to video. It's only about 3 minutes long. Will help you get in to cast netting on your own, bunker schools for fishing live bait for striped bass. There's an artificial reefs for pseudo fluke article by Matt Broderick. And of course, I've got the big article all about the ASMFC decision on striped bass back on May 2nd. That is called Playing the Slot. ASMFC declares a striper emergency. Now, my good friend Mike Wayne from the American Sport Fishing Association helped me with that article, provided all kinds of input and quotes for that piece. We also had a chance to sit down, Mike and I, on Friday. This former ASMFC staffer, he also used to work at NOAA. He's at ASA now. So if you go to thefisherman.com and find that article, you'll also find the podcast that he and I did on Friday at Sandy Hook. It's only 45 minutes long, but if you're jumping in the truck, you're heading to work this week, or maybe coming down the shore on your way to the boat, or even on the boat using the Bluetooth with the speakers, 45-minute discussion all about that, how else could I say it? Insane, incredible decision by the ASMFC. It's the third episode of my audio podcast called The Road. I do have another recording in my files now. I got to get to that. And I'll be out all season long trying to find folks to talk to, interesting folks to share in that audio podcast. Now, in terms of striped bass, we had Striper Quest this past Thursday out of Barr's Landing in Highlands. Over 200 striped bass were tagged with those green streamer tags from Grayfish Tag Research. But we also had two more mini-pat satellite tagging deployments. One a 42-incher on Chuck Manny's Tie Man, and another 44-incher on Critter Catcher caught by first mate Jack Glassberg. Captain Jack, I should say. Congrats, Jack, on getting that ticket. Also with that sat-tagged striper that you can see in the picture on our screen is Captain Greg DeMello from Andreas Toy Charters, who I mentioned before. Now, we'll have a full write-up and a whole video segment coming up later in June into July, all about Striper Quest. It really showcases, though, how good that North Jersey striped bass bite has been all spring and should continue into the month of June. I will tell you this, Chuck Manny on Thursday had 4 50-pound stripers caught and released on his boat, including 3 of them for Yazori's Chris Bishop. Yazori's a big supporter, sponsor of the Northeast Striped Bass Study and Grayfish Tag Research. Chris Bishop had 3 50s on one trip. That's practically unheard of. So that is, well, it's pretty much north of here, isn't it? Up there in North Jersey, Monmouth County. Gas docks are busy. Love to see it. Al Rotano of the Staten Island Fishing Club reported over the weekend that he and Phil DiLorenzo had a number of stripers in the 40 to 48 pound range this past weekend, drifting eels along the structure Oceanside. That was this past week. Now, Al told me Trolli Maja spoons and Mojos have also produced fish. Word from Johnny Bucktails this week, another jumbo. That's aboard Just Saying 2. E.J. Davis had his second 50-inch striper in just 2 weeks, fishing with Captain Cantello and crew. Epic action with striped bass right now in the upper half of the Garden State. Now, that's not to say there aren't stripers around here. There's certainly going to be. You can expect to find them offshore, and you can expect to find them throughout Barnegat Bay here as well. Staying in North Jersey, just as it is throughout the rest of the Garden State, plenty of bluefish around this season as well. You wondered where they were? Well, they're here now. In fact, on the North Jersey grounds this week, or last week, Colleen Boyle let me know that she hit the Raritan with Andy and Taz, their border collie, had a mess of stripers on double mojo rigs, but also scored a few blues up to 36 inches. Those are some good sized bluefish. We are getting reports now of 10 to 15 pound bluefish in the mix. So we're talking about grand slam fishing right now in the Garden State. Stripers, jumbo blues. Of course, the fluke fishing is really heating up out back. A lot of folks wonder about turning on to the offshore wrecks. This is the time to be closer to port, finding some of that warmer water. Ideally, if you're fluke fishing this weekend, it seems the outgoing tide has been the warmest. You get that incoming flow from the ocean, so you got cooler water temperatures. I did manage a 21-incher on incoming water in the upper Barnegat Bay on Saturday in the pouring rain. I had 64-degree water temperatures at that time. I believe on the incoming tide I was out earlier this week had closer to 68. But listen, if I could load up on some fluke, you can load up on some fluke. the blind squirrel gets the nut, you're going to shake the tree, my friend. We are seeing a pretty solid weakfish in the Garden State this season as well. A good weakfish bite at this point. In the lower half of the Jersey Shore, word from Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle is all 4 inshore species, that Grand Slam, stripers, blues, fluke, and weekies in a single outing right now if you plan accordingly. So if you've got your killies, but maybe you don't have some of the small pink plastics, stop into Creekside while you're out in the water. But gear up, right? Gear up for that quadruple hit, that slamming, banging, as Noel would say, grand slam, because a lot of these species you're going to be able to catch. You might want to switch over to the top waters or some of the plugs for stripers and bluefish. The pink zooms, the pink finesse, soak them in cheddar oil. Try to get that weakfish first thing in the morning. But do not forget to load up this weekend for a Memorial Day weekend full of fluke.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Hey, don't forget while you're working the back bays that New Jersey's striped bass bonus program is underway. It's based on a 215,000 pound unused commercial striper quota in the Garden State because we have game fish protection. As such, because it's a commercial quota, it's unaffected by this latest ASMFC decision. So that will not affect that. You do have the opportunity through the Division of Fish and Wildlife to get out there right now and use up some of those bonus tags. A small percentage of that overall 215,000 pound quota gets used through that striper bonus program. Again, you'll find more information about that ASMFC decision at thefisherman.com in the June edition, and also we've got that podcast with Mike Wayne who will tell you more. There are a bunch of those smaller, primarily male estuary stripers in the backwaters. Captain Dave at Absecon Bay Sportsman, he said that Gene and Aaron here made use of some of those tags and made the most of the light tackle action in back, somewhere around the Absecon Bay area. Little Bay is loaded with them. You'll find them in Great Bay, and of course, as you head down into South Jersey as well. Dave also told me that the crab shed is underway. He does all those shedders and soft shells in the back. Finally, we're starting to get into that season. So if you're looking for shedders for bait, or perhaps you're looking for some soft shells for the table, it is time. The Memorial Day weekend is the start of that summer extravaganza. Now, if you're heading down to shore to Cape May, coming from North Jersey, maybe Pennsylvania, it's a great time to wet a line in Cape May County. You've got the striped bass out front, weakfish are on the prowl in the backwaters at night, and many boats like Captain Bob Cope, a full-ahead sport fishing out of Cape May. He's out of Hutchinson Marina. He's doing some trips. Some days it's black sea bass, other days it's jumbo drum. And the black drum fishing is fantastic on Delaware Bay. If you hadn't gotten yourself a trip, make sure you call one of the tackle shops, stop into Hands, see if you can find something. But from Lewis Harbor in Delaware all the way up to Cape May, expect that black drum fishery to continue on through the month of June. Now, you do, of course, have other options from Lewis and Rehoboth up the Jersey Shore. Out of all the different ports, you go into Cape May, into Great Egg, up into Atlantic City. The High Roller, for example, in Atlantic City has been doing a bang-up job in the backwaters for summer flounder, for fluke. You've got the head boats, too, just across the way. The Miss Barnegat Light, she's fired up and ready to go this weekend, as well as the Super Chick and the Mary M. They're rolling all the way up into the Manasquan, of course, and other multi-passenger vessels as well, from the Raritan Bay down into Shark River Inlet, where Captain Ralph Lair on the Last Lady doing a double-header bang-up job on the black sea bass while that season is open. Just don't forget, as a subscriber to the Fisherman Magazine, if you're out on one of these head boat trips, these multi-passenger trips, and you've got yourself a knothead, a big old black sea bass, you don't have to let the mate clean that one. You clean that later, but first bring it into one of our participating tackle shops, weigh it in. As a subscriber, you're going to qualify for lots of great prizes in the Fisherman Magazine's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. For more on the latest standings, let's check in with my buddy Tim Smith.
Now it's time for the Dreamboat update. It was another week of weakfish in the Dreamboat Challenge. 9 new weakfish entries came in this week and shook up the top 10 in that category. Perhaps most notably, challenge leader Eddie Terrabil upgraded his weakfish to 6.63 pounds, but was then knocked out of the top 10 by this week's Tide Runner barrage. Thomas Luciano is holding 10th place with his 7.31 pounder. Brian Ortel barely lifted himself into the 9th spot with his 7.32 pounder. Fred Liederman and Paul Albarano stand in a virtual tie with 7.5 pounds apiece, but Paul takes the higher spot because his weakfish was caught first. John Bratz was the only one to crack the top 5 with his 7.8 pound Tide Runner. Good enough for 4th place. This means you'll need at least 7.32 pounds to make the leaderboard next week. There were also 5 sea robins entered this week. Only one cracked the top 5, but Joe Mendez managed to knock out Eddie Terabil Downerong with his 2.4 pounder, and Chris Nielsen found himself in 4th place after entering his 2.64 pound sea robin. Kyle Kraus clawed his way into the overall top 3 with his 2.2 pounder that was good enough for 9th place in the category. Rounding out the entries for week 4 is a lone scup caught by Robert Chifo, weighing in at 2.26 pounds and holding 2nd place for the scup category. The current top 3 for the tournament looks like this. Kenneth Fay holds 3rd place with 10 points. Kyle Kraus sits in 2nd with 11, and Eddie Terabil still holds the lead with 15 overall points. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new 21-foot Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Visit thefisherman.com to subscribe and get all the details so you can be part of the action.
Some outstanding upcoming events to tell you about, including a big-time catch and release striper event by our friends at the Berkeley Striper Club. First, for those looking to avoid the holiday madness and maybe head out to the western areas, you know, some of those mountain lakes, rivers, and streams in the tri-state region. Let's check in with Grill Master George, our Pocono Outdoors guy.
Hey, well, thanks, Jim. You know, getting a early start on this holiday season. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. You know, things this weekend look like they're going to be really good. We have a great seasonable forecast, I think, for the weekend, so we'll be able to get out and do a little bit of fishing. Have to deal with the crowds a little bit, but I think that'll be minor compared to some of the great fishing that's going to be out there. You know, if you guys are hitting the Delaware River, the shad run, well, that's pretty much over. Most of the guides are turning their attention to the stripers and other species in the river. Now, on the Delaware River, there's a great smallmouth bite going on. Matter of fact, Aiden Downs got his new PB the other day, a 5-pound smallmouth up there fishing on the Delaware. So some great work there, Aiden. I think I'm going to need your contact info so I can come fish with you with those 5-pound smallies. So great work there. Also, you got to remember things up on Wallen Pompack. Will Grouper checked in. He says he's out there snagging tons of those stripers, both pure strains and those wipers as well. Even his daughter Isabel was out there fishing with him. She managed to get a few of those wipers and even a jumbo chunky yellow perch. So that is really great to see up on the pack. Now also the trout bite is still going strong, guys. You haven't missed out. The season's still going on. The water is still cool. So Eric Goodstall checked in, getting some great rainbow trout on a merger pattern. So a good time if you're into that fly fishing, you can get out and on some of those fish as well. Guys, get out on them. Enjoy this holiday weekend. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
From the Pocono Mountains to the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, let's check in with Captain Ben, Jackpot Sport Fishing at a Marina Pez Vela in Capos.
Hey there guys, how's it going? This is Ben Gilmore from down here in Costa Rica and the Marina Pez Vela in Capos. Guys, this week's fishing report, we've still got some nice sail fishing going on right now. Just the other day, we released 8 sailfish, which was an incredible result. That day we caught 1 fly fishing as well. This week we've had 3 sailfish on the fly, which is pretty cool for our anglers. We've had some good dorado fishing. This week we've had dorados up to 40 pounds, some really nice fish. Further offshore, 30 to 40 miles, some days we've had some good yellowfin tuna. And along the coastline we've had some really big rooster fish. Just the other day we had a rooster about 45 pounds. And right now guys, through the American summer, is when we get most of our big rooster fish. 40 to 70 pound fish turn up, and for those guys it's good to use a live bonito, maybe a big live look down, something like that. So guys, would love to see you down here over the summer. We're waiting here, we got plenty of great boats here at the Marina Pez Vela, and would love to see you down here soon. Handing back to you, this is Ben Gilmore, Jackpot Sport Fishing.
The young crew of the Awesome Sauce weighing in a 4.62-pound birthday fluke this past Saturday in the Valhalla Flounder Open on the Bass River. 53 boats, 117 summer flounder were weighed in with a unique slot segment. First time I've heard of this, taking advantage of that slot, but some special prizes for the top slot fish in that tournament. The highlight of the tournament for me as the MC at Saturday's event was the crew of the Filet 2. Their giant basket of S&S bucktails. Phil Natale grabbed that basket and he handed it over to the top prize-winning youth in the tournament, Jason Rawa from the Cat League. Isn't that cool? Tell you what though, in the end, it was George Godlap and his Raging Raymond crew who took most of the award money from this Valhalla Flounder Open on May 20th. George is the man responsible for installing my Suzuki, so I'm very happy for you, George. He and his wife, Alex, of course, will be hosting the next Tuckerton Little Egg New Gretna Fluke Tournament. That's the 4th annual Raging Raymond Charity Fluke Tournament on June 3rd and 4th. The captain's meeting is June 2nd at the American Legion on Radio Road. We have all the details on these tournaments, I would remind you, and others in the June edition. Now for striper fishermen, you've got the 19th annual Berkeley Striper Club Striped Bass Catch and Release Classic. It's kicking off this Saturday, May 27th, and it runs through June 4th. You can get all the details at berkeleystriperclub.org or by visiting one of the participating shops. Do it now, do it this week, do it before Saturday, because you got to enter the tournament, right? You can stop by Tack, Real Seat, Gabriel Tackle, Charlie's Bait and Tackle, Grumpy's, Betty and Nick's, the Dock Outfitters, the Hook House on the mainland, or just south of here on LBI. You can stop in and see Greg and crew at Fisherman's headquarters. Now on the tuna grounds next week, you do have a couple of options. Now that the bluefin have arrived, you've got some tuna options. You can enter either one of these tournaments, or you can enter both of them. Jersey Coast Shark Anglers out of Northern Ocean County has their annual Bluefin Fever Contest. That's June 3rd and 4th, with a captain's meeting on Friday, June 2nd at the JCSA Club. That's on Herbertsville Road in Brick. You also, Southern Ocean County, you have the Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club's 3rd annual tuna tournament. That's running from June 3rd through the 10th out of Beach Haven. That will support David's Dream and Believe Cancer Foundation. You can register there at bhmtc.com. That's Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club. The bluefin are here. Don't forget to get your HMS permit. I believe it's just $26. And even if you're out doing some other kind of fishing inshore and you stumble upon a bluefin, that $26 investment registering your hull means you could take that bluefin home and proudly show it off at the dock. Finally, this weekend, don't forget, while it is a 3-day holiday weekend, it's also a weekend to pay respect to those who gave their all to this great experiment here in the United States of America. American democracy, God bless those who served, and a prayer to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of the good old USA. Catch them up this weekend. Stay safe. I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend. God bless America, and God bless you. I'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.